Hey, how's it going? Good to see you guys again. I've got a question. I don't know if you've ever seen Finding Nemo, but there's a big bit in Finding Nemo where Nemo is like trapped in the fish tank, right? And he has to escape. And one of the fish says, "Look, all drains lead to the ocean." That's what he says. All drains lead to the ocean. So it's like, look, Nemo, if you want to get back to the ocean, what you have to do is just go and find a drain and go in it, basically. And in the end, he gets flushed down the loo, and then he kind of goes through the filter process or whatever, and he ends up in the ocean. But the thing is, he says, look, all drains lead to the ocean. Even if you don't think they do, even if you think they go somewhere else, they actually all lead back to the same place. Now, I don't actually know if that's true, as if, like, you know, all drains genuinely do lead to the ocean. But I think it's really important for us to recognise that kind of idea when we deal with questions, when we deal with disappointments, when we deal with frustrations. I don't know, you know, if you would describe yourself as having any of those. Maybe you are a Christian and you kind of experiencing some of these things. Or maybe you were a Christian and the reason why you're not is because you had questions that weren't answered, or because you had a disappointment that let you down. Or perhaps you're a non-Christian and actually you're looking into this sort of thing thinking, how does it all work? How does it all fit together? What's it all meant to, you know, how does it all work? And you've got questions because of that. All drains lead to the ocean. There's a character in the Bible called John the Baptist. Okay, John the Baptist is really successful. He's the kind of person you would never think would end up having a bit of a crisis and asking loads of questions and having a load of doubts. But he that's what happens. Okay, he's really confident in who God is. He's really confident in his mission to point people towards Jesus. And then suddenly he gets put in prison, and he begins to have questions. He begins to have doubts. He begins to wonder: is the Jesus thing real? You know, is Jesus? Is he the one that I thought he was going to be? He begins to have all these questions and all these doubts, and in the end, what he does is he sends two of his friends, because he's in prison, so he can't go anywhere. So he sends two of his friends to go speak to Jesus. And the question they ask him is this: are you the one, or should we look for someone else? John the Baptist's frustrations, his doubts, and his questions, whatever they might be, they all point towards the kind of single big question, which is Jesus the one, or should we look for someone else? That's it. And I think this is true, the same for us. You know, whatever you might be asking, whether it's about science, whether it's about, sexuality, whether it's about, a specific situation that happened in your life that you're struggling with. Maybe it's about your friendships, maybe it's about, things like heaven or hell or whatever it is, whatever questions you have, whatever doubts you have, and, whatever disappointments and frustrations and faith you might have. I think they're all drains that go in separate places, but actually, ultimately, they end up in the same place with one big question: are you the one, or should we look for someone else? When I was at college, I struggled with the question of science versus faith. I thought that the two kind of clashed against each other. You couldn't hold on to science without also holding on to, it had to be one or the other. And I realized actually that the real question was, is Jesus the one? Is Jesus the one, or should I go somewhere else? And I decided that actually, what I know about Jesus, what I know about his life, what I know about his death, what I know about his resurrection, what I know about his teachings and how phenomenal they were, and also what I know about my life and the way that I feel like Jesus has impacted me in subtle ways and maybe bigger ways as well, and what I know about people around me. Some of my closest friends or some of my family members or certain people I knew that I thought, wow, something's changed for you. I realized that Jesus was the one. And because Jesus was the one, then the other questions I had, they were almost put into perspective. They're kind of like, yeah, they're important questions, and sometimes I might still ponder them and try and work out, and eventually you kind of it begins to fit together a bit more. But I realized that actually, this isn't so important now that I know that Jesus is the one. This isn't so important now that I have perspective and I can see that Jesus is the one, and therefore I should go focus on him and get to know him more. There's a passage in the Bible that says that in Jesus all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge can be found. It can be found in relationship with him. And so I want to encourage you, no matter what questions, frustrations, doubts you might have, let it all lead you to this question: is Jesus the one? Or should we look for someone else? I believe that he is, and I believe that knowing him and choosing to put your faith in him is the best choice that you can make. So I want to encourage you to do that. And if you haven't seen Finding Nemo for a while, 100% you should do it, because it's a quality film. Cool. See you later, guys.